Come on. And we're back with another episode of the Patriots Only Please podcast. Hey, we're hitting a milestone today. This is episode number 30. So not many podcasts make it this far, folks. So I mean, I'm just saying we're kind of we're chugging along here. And not only are we recording this for future posterity, but we are also streaming this live on YouTube, X, and Rumble. And of course, as always, we humbly ask you to follow us and check us out at patriotsonlyplease.com, where you can get on our mailing list and stay informed of any, future activities or any other fun business that we have going on. And if you're not into visiting websites, then you can also follow, and subscribe to us at your, see, I'm getting ahead of myself, at your favorite social media network of choice. And as always, I am Jeff C., and I'll allow you to introduce yourself, of course.
Mr. Soli.
Yes, I love it with the little inflection up there. Yeah, man. So we're continuing the conversation as, there's news every day. You brought up a really good talking point the other day when we spoke just about the overall subject of today's episode, which is just Trump is just not only battling the left, but he's battling, the deep state and just you said political corruption in general. So I'm going to give you the floor, tell us all about your take on this particular issue.
Trump is the first presidential whistleblower. I mean, think about this, and think about how unprecedented that is. I mean, Obama, especially in Obama's second term, after he'd been the president for 4 years, he really wanted whistleblowers to come forward, and he encouraged them. He ended up putting 9 of them in prison. The Manning character that was the one that he ended up pardoning at the end of his second term, but he didn't keep his promise. Obama pretty much offered that carrot and then threw people in prison for whistleblowing. Trump's beyond that. He's the president. He can't be thrown in prison. His whole goal is to expose corruption wherever it might live. And that is probably the most terrifying thing to entrenched bureaucrats, the deep state, rhinos, left, whatever you want to call them. Because don't forget, this also includes defense contractors. I mean, anyone that's in on it and that's bilking the government, taking taxpayers' money and exploiting it needs to go. And I mean, he's dedicated a presidential commission headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, 2 very savvy business people, to look into this with the kind of magnifying glass that doesn't normally exist in DC. Like, really get rid of stuff. Like, let's close these folks down. Let's reallocate these resources. They're even talking about moving buildings out of DC so they're not able to collude so easily. Like, they're talking about major political upheaval changes because Trump realizes 4 years ago, on his first term, 4 years in between, watching the Biden-Harris machine do what it did, it's still doing it, the complete corruption of that administration. I mean, that's what DC is. And he's coming back. He's got a mandate from the American people to put an end to it. We talked about this before. A lot of Democrats, even Bernie Sanders, when he had his run a while back and garnered a lot of momentum among a lot of young voters about corporate greed and corporate corruption, but never put his finger on the political corruption, because corporate greed is it's capitalism. We're supposed to make money, right? But corporate greed can't exist without political persuasion. I mean, politicians, the government regulates these companies. They can only get away with what DC lets them get away with. And we know for a fact that a lot of the actual laws that are written by the companies. Pharmaceutical companies write drug laws.
Yeah, lobbyists. Yeah.
Lobbyists write half of the bills. They just hand them, they go, here, put this on the floor tomorrow. And I go, okay. That is corruption. I mean, they're talking about term limits. They're talking about Congress people can't buy stocks when they're, as IPOs, because they know they're the ones that are approving them. All kinds of changes that just make common sense to regular people. But in DC, it's like, who's saying? The president is saying this? The administration itself is putting the smackdown on what we've all been doing forever, like, not supposed to do that, man. Not going to war, not making all that extra funneled back money, So again, we want Trump to get there safely. We want him to get inaugurated. We want him to start the gig. He's got to live that long. But if he's able to pull this off, this will be, I think, the biggest revolution in our country's history from the inside out.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This goes beyond just regular reforms. I think that this goes to just completely revamping and rethinking the way Washington and government works, and hopefully, obviously at the federal level, hopefully that'll trickle down into, local, state and local governments as well. And, just setting a precedent. And it's funny, we were talking before we went live about Steve Bannon. He said recently, because Megyn Kelly had asked him, how long do you really think that they have? And he says, it's got to happen. Like really, he's got about 6 months.
Yeah.
We say, 18 months, 2 years, but really, you've got about 6 months to really get a lot of this stuff in place. And look, which is why he's kind of hit the ground running. And, he's already meeting with world leaders, and they're already kind of holding off on escalating anything. And where's Biden been for the last couple of weeks anyway? So he's just been, the missing president, the invisible president for the last couple of months.
Biden's been forgiving more student loan debt with our tax money to the tune of $1 billion. He's sent another $1 billion to Ukraine. He's continuing the same exact agenda that got his party tossed out of government. He doesn't care. He's on his way out. He doesn't care. Worst president in history. But I do think that what Trump realizes is and just for our viewers that aren't maybe politically savvy or don't follow this that closely, part of the reason why he's got half a year, 6 months, is that at that point, the legislators start thinking about getting reelected themselves.
Yes.
So depending on what district they're in, what state they're in, some of these policies might not fly with their constituents. They need to get reelected to stay in power, to be able to continue to vote for Trump. So it gets murkier. It gets harder to do this stuff after about 6 to 8 months. That's why they have to come out swinging, get this stuff. I think the tax cut should be the first agenda, the first thing passed.
Sure.
Like not letting them sunset, getting them reset, drop the corporate rates, all that stuff. But back to political corruption, it's been incredible to watch the entire world, and especially the legacy media all over the world, react to this stuff, because every country is experiencing this. The Argentinian president has turned that country around in a year and a half. Cut the inflation down to almost nothing, gotten rid of several departments. I think 40,000 government people have been let go. This is what it takes, guys. The government is bloated. It's way, way, way bloated. It's unionized, it's bloated. And a lot of people are just there to get a paycheck and get a great pension and check out. We're paying for all this with our tax dollars. And why not make it more efficient, make it more streamlined, make it smaller? Smaller government is more efficient. And that's kind of what the point of this episode is, and kind of the point of the Republican Party. We're the opposite of the Democrats. The Democrats are tax and spend. We're invest and shrink.
Well, we'd like it to be that way. Never has it been more apparent and more just out in the open and transparent than in this last week when they tried to shove that that CR, that big omnibus spending bill, which again, before he even takes office, you have, surrogates like Elon and Vivek and Doge exposing all of the pork and all of the corruption and everything that goes into these bills, 1,500 plus pages with less than 24 hours or something, 48 hours or something to vote on that. And it was all exposed and turned on its head within 24 hours, and they had a different bill that then they had to renegotiate. But I think as of now, it's passed the House and the Senate on like the third attempt. But it's a much smaller bill, and that just goes to prove. It's not that Elon is the president or the de facto president. I know that the media is trying to make that spin. It's just, look, Elon has the platform and says, here it is, folks. We'll run this through our AI robots and let them read the 1,500 page document and distill this all down. And here's what it is. Public, what do you think about this?
Right.
It has nothing to do with Elon. It's the public making the decision about this.
100%. And to me, handing a 1,500 page bill to a party with 24 hours to go is itself political corruption. There's no way. That is an example of what political corruption looks like. And it happens all the time. And these spending bills come up all the time. Once the Republicans take over, I'm looking forward to having an end to that for at least 2 years of that kind of nonsense, that constant pressure. And, and if I do think the American public, with the tax cuts first and getting Doge to start cutting out these wasteful spending government programs, we're going to see things turn around pretty quickly. The energy costs are going to come down. Energy is everything. Energy costs come down. Everyone has more money in their pockets. The mortgage rate, if you looked recently, is back down to 4.5%. Powell cut the rates. That's great for potential homeowners and for all kinds of interest rates that are based off the 10-year Treasury. So, I mean, they're doing things incrementally. I can't say that word. Incrementally. That's the word. In small steps, they're chipping away at the higher interest rates they needed to control inflation, because once Trump comes in, it's going to disappear. So I'm very hopeful about the future, but until we get the rot out of out of DC, the rot out of the internal workings of the government, things aren't going to change, and we need them to change.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think they can get a lot accomplished in that 6-month period. I mean, again, we're already seeing steps being taken before Trump is even sworn in. So these are all good signs. I don't know if you remember, but back when Trump was laying out his agenda during the election, there was a specific video that I found that was him specifically talking about the rot and the corruption in the deep state. Yes. It's just a few minutes long, but I'd love to share that with you and our viewers. Check this out. This is basically Trump versus the deep state.
Here's my plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all, and corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemies, which they're doing now at a level that nobody can believe even possible. Third, we will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications. So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption, and there are plenty of them. Fifth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy. When possible, we will press criminal charges. Sixth, we will make every Inspector General's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee, so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns against the American people, or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign. Eighth, we will continue the effort launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America, and they really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they deal with these companies and they regulate these companies, and then they want to take jobs from these companies. It doesn't work that way. Such a public display cannot go on, and it's taking place all the time, like with Big Pharma. Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress This is how I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you very much.
And there you go. There you go. I mean, that's, he just lays it all out right there. And for, like you said, he's the first president whistleblower. Nobody else says that stuff. Nobody else has laid that out for the public and said, this is the bullshit that's been going on for the last 250 years, you know, or certainly
not,
the last 100 years.
And not to mention his anti-war stance. I mean, he's not an isolationist. He believes in America first, and America first has allies around the world that need protection. But needless wars, no more. I mean, Tucker Carlson says Tucker Carlson is a pretty smart guy. He thinks that in the 2015, before he became president in 2016, in that cycle, when he was during that primary, when there were 25 people on stage, it got down, you know, when he started talking about our invading Iraq being a mistake, I mean, that no one could believe it. Like no one ever talks like that. No one ever says America made a huge mistake. We lost trillions, didn't get the oil. People are still handicapped, dead, decimated today for what? I mean, that's the way most Americans think, but they don't have any power. He is the president, or was the president. He'll be the president again. So to have someone that really puts America first in that way, worldwide, it's going to be such a friggin' blessing for the world.
Oh yeah,
but I don't envy anyone that goes up against him. It's like I don't envy Iran. I don't envy Hamas. I don't envy Ukraine. I don't envy Russia, because he's going to come after all of them and get this stuff to stop.
Sure, and he's already kind of keeping him in check before he takes office anyway. So yeah, and I think you make a good point, because a lot of times when people talk about this kind of America First agenda, they think, oh, this is just an isolationist policy, and it's not that at all. I mean, it's peace through strength. You said this earlier. He's kind of our modern day Reagan. You know, there's a lot of parallels. I just watched the film with the Dennis Quaid movie. I just kind of said, and it's interesting to look back at history through the lens of current events and go, there's a lot of similarities. If you haven't seen that, anybody who hasn't seen that, it's certainly an interesting watch, because there's a lot of parallels that what was going on with him, even leading up to his election, that mirror, you know, Trump experience. So anyway,
well,
I remember that. So
me too. And one of the first things that Reagan did upon inauguration was get the hostages back. I think that maybe that day or that week. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Trump will do the same thing with all the people still being held hostage by Hamas in Israel and, you know, in the Gaza Strip. I think that'll be one of his first agendas, because we're talking about over a year of living like animals just because they happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's got to stop. And the Biden administration has done nothing to help. If they have, I'm not aware of it. I mean, I don't know everything, but the fact that we are not getting updates on their conditions, remember back in the day when we had those hostages in Iran, we knew like week by week what was happening, what was going on. They kept us up to date. That's not even news anymore. And some people have been there since October 7th of last year, been living in cages.
Yeah, absolutely. And to say nothing of the January 6th. Being held in those modern day gulags. I mean, it all comes to an end, you know. Well, and sorry, and by the way, you mentioned before about Biden being invisible, not doing anything. Well, what he's been doing is he's been paying off student loans with our tax money. He's been accelerating the war in Ukraine with huge amounts of cash, huge injections of cash of our tax dollars, and he's heading toward 10,000 pardons. The most of the second of all time was Obama, who did about 1,900, and then after that, it's in the single hundreds. Biden's heading toward 10,000 pardons. This guy is the king of corruption, guys. You can't. I mean, think about what he's doing. He's saying, "I'm almost out. My kids are young. Take care of that." You know what I mean? He's doing the whole like, I'm giving you. You know what I mean? 10,000 pardons. He pardoned his son unconditionally for 10 years. Like. It screams corruption. It screams crime family. We know it now. He's not even hiding it. It's out in the open. Like, yeah, well, what are you going to do? I'm the president, and I'm too old to go to court. I'm too feeble-minded to go to court. So it's like, Exactly, yeah, because they've already deemed him too feeble and to stand trial or be held
Yeah,
accountable for his own corruption. So,
right.
which was interesting. He's too feeble to be held accountable, but he's was okay to be the president, at
Yes,
least
yes,
until they decided he was a liability, a political
yeah.
liability.
But still has the power of the office, though. He's able to wield it with wars and with money and with pardons. I mean, I think the Democrats are going to pay a huge price for this in the future. Whenever we have one of our people running the country that seems to be old, we'll say we're Joe Bidening. We're going to do the Joe Biden thing. We're keeping him where he is.
Sure.
Good luck. Good luck. You did it. You did it. You did it for your. We'll do it for our guy or girl.
Yeah, well, and the problem is that it sets a dangerous precedent going forward for
Exactly.
any party, for any side, for any president. It just establishes this. Okay, well, if he's not towing the line, then we'll do this. If the president actually is, in the mental and physical state that Biden was, if they try to do that with Trump, which I'm sure they're going to try all kinds of things during his administration, first of all, we'll see what happens January 6th when they have to certify the election, and then of course, January 20th when he gets sworn in. So right. there's plenty of I mean, today's the 21st of December when we're shooting this, so we still have a month left before he gets sworn in, so anything can happen. I mean, right. Why all of a sudden did Biden and Kamala head back to DC? Who knows? There's some talk about maybe just to kind of stick it to Trump, they'll 25th Amendment Biden and then install Kamala for the last couple of weeks, which I don't know if that's going to happen, but I wouldn't put it past him though.
Listen, Biden has way too much pride. Biden and Kamala don't even like each other. Sure. I know. I don't see that happening. I don't think Biden's going to give up the most powerful gig in the world, even though he's 82 and doesn't know what's going on, unless they force him to. But if he's allowed to make any decisions, he'll hang in there till the inauguration and then bow out gracefully. And what could Kamala do in the last a couple of weeks? I mean, that would be I think that would damage the party irreparably.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's hope that they don't make any, crazy moves like that. I wouldn't put anything past that party. And again, we keep referencing the Democrats because they're the worst offenders. But look, there are plenty of rhinos. There's plenty of people. Yep. That's why, I had this conversation with a friend of mine at a holiday party a few days ago. And I was trying to explain to them because they were on the left. And I said, look, this isn't necessarily about, you're still thinking of it as, Republican versus Democrat, because that's what the legacy media that you bow to keeps feeding you. It's so far above that now. It literally is the people versus the deep state. And that's why I think that, who knows, maybe after Trump's run, maybe those kind of labels go away. Maybe the Republican Party and the Democrats, the Democrats will stay the same, but maybe, there is another party that evolves, maybe a resurgence of the long dormant America First Party, a rebranding to something like that, because I think this is bigger than that. The coalition that he's built, and I know we tend to say the same things on every episode, but it's because it's true. It bears repeating. The coalition that he's built is made up with people from all political stripes, from all sides, even the supporters. I mean, we saw more minorities, more, I mean, just every walk of life that would attend these Trump rallies, and the base that he has. He's expanded the base like no other candidate. I mean, maybe since Reagan, but even back then it was still very much Democrat versus Republican. The whole game has changed, and I can't wait to see what happens with this administration. He's got way more people on his side. In 2015, 2016, he was, who's this guy? He's a television star. He's a real estate developer. He was the host of The Apprentice. Everything is different now. In my opinion, he's a force of nature. He's a modern folk hero, and that engenders a movement, not just the leader of a party.
I completely agree. It's the America First movement, and again, making political corruption the focus going into this this landslide victory is just such a novel move. I mean, I've never in my lifetime seen anyone. I mean, he's again just the way we started the episode. He's the first presidential whistleblower on the government itself, and it's rocking all governments to their foundations around the world, because they realize citizens are no longer, they know what's going on. They understand that corruption is real, and the corruption is what allowing the governments to waste so much of their tax dollars.
Yep.
It's crazy.
1000%.
And to have Trump champion that is so amazing. It's his second and last term. It's his last 4 years. I think he's going to make a huge impact on this country, and I think the entire world, and especially his embracing crypto. And that's really going to give a shot in the arm to people that weren't born wealthy, weren't born with any kind of inheritance. I mean, it's a great way for people to get back in the market and back into crypto with the government's okay, go for it. You know what I mean? We need that. We need some other. We've been talking. I remember for a few years back, they were talking about guaranteed monthly income or guaranteed whatever that's called, guaranteed.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't remember the universal basic income. Yeah,
exactly. Well, you would need that if crypto became mainstream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, our crypto portfolios are
they're doing great.
well.
They're doing great. And we're not here to offer anybody any advice on investing. That's not where our goal is. We're just saying, as an alternative asset, it's a pretty good way to go. And having the new administration embrace that asset is going to be a great thing for people that weren't born wealthy, that work hard, that need some extra money. You've got a side hustle, you got your main job, you got some crypto, and you're invested in the stock market. Your future's going to look pretty bright.
Yeah, people will be far better off. Again, it comes back to are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And I think 4 years from now, I think people are going to look back and say, wow, yeah, I'm pretty much better off. And then whoever gets to carry that torch into the next election, whether that be in the Republican Party or whatever becomes of the Republican Party, if it evolves into this America First party or coalition, I think that, again, Trump is setting a great precedent where our current commander-in-chief was not so much, but we can only see what the future holds. I mean, he's hitting the ground running. He's making all the right moves before he even takes office, and so I as usual, I mean, the future is definitely looking bright as far as I'm concerned. As long as we can get his appointees, confirmed and in place.
Yes, I think Trump being the first president whistleblower, him focusing on political corruption, I think that will really change American lives and the entire world. And I'm so proud of him for having the guts to do this, because he didn't have to. He could have a different platform if he wanted to. Just focus on energy independence and peace through strength and closing the borders. But he's taking that extra step to heal us from the inside out, and I think it's long overdue. It's so welcome. The American people voted overwhelmingly for it. So let's do this, man. Let's get started.
Yeah, and anybody who's going to say, "Oh, Trump is only doing this for his ego or for money," it's like, what possible financial gain can he get out of this? I mean, they ruined him. It would have been much easier, or they took him to the brink of ruin. It would have been way easier for him to just go, "Okay, look, I'll back out." I guarantee you, the deep state was like, "Listen, all you got to do is just back away. On the lawsuits go away. All of this goes away. You can live out the rest of your days, in Mar-a-Lago with Melania and Barron and do whatever, and your legacy will be secure, whatever. And we'll even say some nice things about you and give you a nice presidential library. Just go away." And he kept fighting. So,
and just in case anyone listening isn't aware of this, and Trump did this in his first administration, he's already confirmed with the media publicly he'll be doing this in his second administration. He will not take a paycheck.
Yeah.
Donald Trump will not make one penny from being the president of the United States. He's going to donate every one of his paychecks, monthly, quarterly, however he gets paid, to a different charity of his choice, a different America First charity of his choice. That alone should be bigger news than it is, because that's also groundbreaking. I don't care that he's already wealthy. There are a lot of people who've been president before who haven't done that, who've been wealthy. But what an incredible symbol. What an incredible symbol. Like, I'm here serving you. I don't need this money, but these folks do. These veterans do. So good for him. I'm so glad that he won, and I'm super excited to see the political corruption in DC get broken apart and erased as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one other video that I found. It's a short one. It's about a minute long of Trump speaking with Tucker Carlson, actually, that I think this kind of illustrates a lot of this nicely, or it kind of goes over, again, the corruption in DC. Check this out.
They found out that much of it wasn't true, and they were very embarrassed. So the unselect committee. I call it the unselect committee, which I always thought was a great name because it was a select. I call it the unselect committee of political thugs. What happened is, think of it, end of the story. They deleted and destroyed all evidence, all documents. There's nothing. And the reason they did it is because they were guilty as hell. It's the greatest cover-up, and the fake news back there will not cover it. They've never even, I think, done a story. In other words, when you go into court, we want that information. There is no information. It's been destroyed. Everything's been destroyed. We have a very crooked government. Remember that. And we're going to straighten it out, and we're going to make it an honest government.
Yep, and there you go. I mean, nothing like giving our new president the last word. So there you go. I think his mission is clear, and I think it can only benefit the people. So,
amen.
Looking bright.
Keep on trumping.
All right, brother. So, with that said, we are once again. I am Jeff C.
Mr. Soli, happy holidays 2024 to all you out there.
That's right. We're a few days away from Christmas, so Merry Christmas. Yep. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We can say that
yes,
again
Merry
now.
Christmas.
And yeah, so we will see you guys on the next one. So until then, stay strong, keep trumping, and bye for now.